When you read about me in the paper, it's always Star Jones' ex-husband. I want people to know that I'm more than just Star Jones' ex-husband. I'm Al Reynolds.
How would you define yourself? Who is Al Reynolds?
I come from very, very humble beginnings. I grew up in a mobile home in a small town called Horsepasture, Virginia. My mom was an educator, and my dad was a serviceman. So that is a very much, and it's the fabric of who I am. It's woven in the fabric of what I am. I'm about service. I'm about educating. I'm about motivating. I'm about helping. I'm about inspiring. That's where I feel like the next chapter for Al Reynolds is going to be about. I come from a mixed background racially, and in the South we're called light-skinned. And also in the South, the light-skinned individuals get treated a little bit differently. And then also in the South, the light-skinned dudes who are considered pretty boys.
You've experienced a lot of speculation about your sexuality. Tell us about that. Are you gay?
I am not a homosexual. But the thing is, it's really weird to me, and it really is kind of upsetting to me that that's where people would go as it relates to my sexuality, because this has affected my professional life. This has affected my personal life. And if anyone knew the damage that it has caused me, they would understand why I'm very aggressive about this. But it's okay, because I'm learning from this whole experience, and hopefully I'll grow from it. But I can tell you probably why. Look at me. I take very care in my clothes. I dress nice. I'm from the South. We used to dress up to go to church. Like, if my mother had 6 kids, we used to have to line up before we left the house to go to church. And it was very important that we were dressed nice, that our shoes were clean, that our hair was combed, that our teeth were brushed, that we presented ourselves as a Reynolds, because that's what we were. And I kind of transport that into my adult life. So when you see me out, I'm going to be immaculate. I'm going to be clean. I'm going to dress nice. I'm going to look good. Some people, they call that kind of soft. Okay, I've been called soft before, and that's okay. Some people, as of late, call that metrosexual. I can live with it, because it's not going to stop. Every time I go, or if I go to an event, I'm going to look my best. My mother used to tell me that you look cleaner than the Board of Health. And I used to say to her, all right, that means my job was done. That means I got the okay to leave. See, we've got to separate the gossip from the facts, and that's why I'm doing this interview with you. I worked 10 years on Wall Street. I managed multi-millionaire accounts for 10 years. I did that before I met Star. So for anyone to try to, discredit my credibility and integrity is one of the reasons why I'm talking. I teach kids at a university, on a university level. I have a doctorate degree that I'm working on. This is all things that it trumps the gossip, because it's the truth. And nothing trumps it better than the truth.
As you look back, what are your feelings about the marriage and how it ended? I mean, you seem very up and very happy, but are there moments where you break down?
I do. I do. I didn't share this with you. I have 5 brothers and sisters who've all been married for 15 years or more. My parents, before my father passed, was married for 45 years. So divorce isn't anything that I'm very used to. So there are days where I'm like, wow, like I still wear my ring. It hasn't settled in yet. I still love her.
Are you heartbroken?
You can't be heartbroken. Every lesson that you learn in life is for a reason. Does the heart hurt? Yes, it does. Is it going to heal? Yes, it will.
You talk about how you loved the wedding, and yet the wedding was controversial.
It was the most exciting day of my life. I have 14 nephews. Every single one of them participated. I have 5 siblings, and all of them are married, and every single one of them participated in the wedding. It was probably the most joyous day of my life.
And yet the wedding was controversial, especially the sponsors.
I wasn't aware of all the endorsement stuff. I have to be honest with you. A lot of this, when I came into it, I just thought that maybe that's how it was for celebrities. Clearly, as a businessman, if I knew that this was going to affect us in our marriage in any way, I would have never allowed us to participate in the nature that we did. And I think it's very, very clear that, every single endorser, we haven't heard a single complaint from any of them as it relates to what they were able to get out of their participation in the marriage or in the wedding. So I think that's worth saying.
What's your reaction to this claim that's been in the news media that you didn't contribute financially to the marriage, that you didn't carry your weight financially?
I worked on Wall Street for 10 years, for a decade, and I managed extremely high net worth people for many, 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 many years. Star and I made a decision that I would, leave my career in banking and help her. I knew what we were working for. She knew what we were working for. And at the end of the day, when the door closed and we were in our apartment, we were living a normal life, and that was okay with us.
What everybody wants to know is what's in the prenup.
Right. Gosh, I wish I could tell you something interesting. Actually, that's something that we've agreed. And the same way I would advise my clients to have a prenup, I also advise my clients to have a confidentiality agreement as it relates to the content of the prenup. And that's what Star and I have. So unfortunately, can't give you any of the content of the prenup because we're both under agreement that that's not something that we would discuss publicly.
What is your relationship with Star Jones right now? Are you on speaking terms?
It saddens me, but we're not. We're cordial, but this is a difficult time for her, and it's a difficult time for me. And it's actually one of the reasons why I've decided that I want to speak. I have to at this point. Right now, it's just a little tender. Our relationship is a little tender, and hopefully over time we can heal a lot of that and we can become friends again. Because that's what really is how we started this relationship. I guess it's no secret. I never dated anyone like Star before, and I fell in love with her mind. I fell in love with her, with our friendship and the conversations that we used to have. Star and I would sit on the phone at nights and talk like we were in high school. Do you remember your high school days where you would talk and you'd wake up and the phone is beside your ear and you're like, hello? That's kind of how we developed this friendship that then kind of blossomed into a love and relationship. So think about all of that and think about it coming to an end. It takes some time to heal.
You've been described in so many different ways. Sometimes you pop up as an investment banker. Right. What exactly do you do for a living?
I teach college students. Most of them are freshmen. One of the courses that I teach is like how to be a master student. So I teach them everything from time management to test-taking skills. I also teach state and local government, which is kind of interesting because in that class I actually empower the students to take on a civic public policy issue, and by the end of the class they have to take a civic action, which is very dynamic. It involves them, it calls them to take interest because it affects them. I think when you do that, when you take a child from just understanding theory to actually applying it, you have a home run. And that once those kids, some of them come to your class and that light's not on, you see the light go click. And then you see another light go click in their head, and the next thing you know, you have a room full of students who have clicked, and they're learning, and it's amazing. And then for me, my heart goes, whoo, and it's like a home run for everybody.
What's next for Al Reynolds?
I'm working on a book, and I'm really excited about it. I've been working on this book for about 1.5 years. I'm sold that this book is going to help change America. It's not your typical how-to book. It's a show you how-to book. It's for a specific demographic. It's for people who make less than $50,000 a year. Like I told you before, a lot of people call it the salt of the earth. I call them auntie. I call it mom. I call it dad. I call it my sister. It's going to give people, it's going to show people how to handle their financial problems. So what I'm actually doing is I want to serve as an educator instead of an expert, because when you think about this demographic, and I'm talking about that Walmart demographic, when I go back home, I always end up in Walmart with my mom. It's like the social place that everybody in the community kind of meets, because now you can do everything. You can buy everything from clothes to groceries there, like where you don't need to go anywhere else. So I'm trying to focus on those individuals. I want to teach them. I want to educate them how to budget better. I want to educate them how to deal with their credit issues. I want to educate them on how to decide how many withholdings do you choose when you fill out your tax papers, and the importance of filing your taxes. I want to also help them learn the importance of owning a home. And I also want to help them to prepare for retirement, because that's incredible, that's important right now.
Wouldn't cynics say, hey, are you the person to be writing a book about financial advice for other people?
I worked on Wall Street for over 10 years. So the majority of my, professional life has been like helping people with their finances. And now I've decided to kind of move away from working on Wall Street and trying to kind of inject everything that I learned from Wall Street and helping what I consider the average Americans.
Al, a lot of people think and suspect you're using your relationship with Star Jones, even in the divorce, to make a name for yourself.
The truth is, I'm in the public eye, and a lot of people want me to trash my wife. I'm not interested in doing that, but being in the public eye, I definitely want to use this opportunity to help educate and motivate and inspire people, whether it's writing a book on financial education or whether it's teaching students at the university that I'm at. When I think about my effect, and you talk about how do I inspire my students, I think about one student in particular. He's from the Northeast, and he had a criminal background. And when he got to our institution, that light wasn't very bright. It was actually kind of dim. And he never really had anybody to take an interest in his life. And I knew that. I could sense it. And when he came into my class, I took an interest. And I told him, listen, you're here to achieve. And you're going to give me your best every day that you come to this class, and I'm not going to accept anything less, because you're nothing less. And you know what he told me? He said, I've never had anybody, and he's 23, in my adult life to ever empower me like that. So that's an example of just a little way that you can empower somebody. And what happens is, he doesn't want to let me down. So every day he comes to class, he's prepared. And every day that he missed class, I call him. Where were you today? Where's your homework assignment? And he works very, very hard to make sure that I understand his commitment to education. And I work very, very hard for him to understand my commitment to him in education.